Tomorrow's morning news, whatever. The way you had played this season and in that game, was it uncharacteristic, or were you a little surprised at how that fourth quarter unfolded yesterday?
In what way, David? What specific?
Just, normally when you have that sort of lead, it's not the sort of thing.
Yeah.
The way the defense has played all year and what the offense has done.
Definitely. You got we talked about putting games away. I think just like anything, that's why we named Fridays fast and fast start, furious finish, because so much about the game of football. The start and the finish, we always treat it as a situation. So you got the ebb and flow of the rest of the game. So yeah, there's a number of opportunities. You wish you had some better execution. But yeah, it's they were driving there at the end of the third, into the fourth for the score. But yeah, it's a very disappointing loss.
Clarence Silver, Star Telegram. We talked often about the culture in the locker room and the right kind of guys. Were you worried about when Mike calls out his teammates, said there was no accountability, and Dalton says guys didn't have the right cleats in? I don't know if you guys talked about any of that today.
Well, I'm not in touch with the quotes you're talking about, but I'll just say this. I don't know what the hell you'd want us to be talking about in the locker room. We definitely weren't in there patting each other on the back. There was a ton of red ass, ton of disappointment, a lot of anger, and I think that points to the commitment, the desire to win, the connection. So there's a lot said between a number of people, and I love that. Conflict is good, so that's how you resolve.
Hey, Coach. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Over the course of the game, as Christian Watson started to kind of heat up, was there any conversation between you and Dan about potentially shadowing him with Diggs to try to keep him from getting as hot as he did over the course of the game?
Well, Al Lazard's obviously they're number one, but I think as you get into those games, and it's just like anything. Our primary focus was our run defense, and then that didn't go very well. So it wasn't like we were going to be able to get into more coverage, to help against the potential pass. They threw it 20 times, and obviously I know they're extremely effective doing it. But I think with the injury to Anthony Brown was a bigger challenge for us, just as far as we had young guys that certain things weren't clean. They were in reduced splits and bunches and stacks a lot for their run game, and then the passes that come off of that, we just weren't as clean in those situations, and we had young players make some mistakes on both sides of the ball. So, and that's a part of playing young players in big games. We'll be better off in the long run, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that as you look at the game, I think it's a really good experience for these young players to get out there. But it's just like anything, when you get thrown in there and you haven't had all the reps, to do with the how to handle the bunches and so forth. It just was not as clean, and they got the leverage on a number of routes, and Watson benefited from it.
Mike Todd, Archer of the ESPN. Why were they able to have so much success with their outside runs?
Well, outside run's simple. You got to set the edge. Whether they're attacking the C gap or the toss crack was a compliment to it. It's as far as the anchor of the wall to kick out in the alley, and we were not set. We weren't setting the edge good enough, and we really weren't getting the pursuit over the top fast enough because you got to add bodies. When they get three out, three guys on your two guys out there. So, but yeah, it's. That was a pretty consistent challenge all night.
Do you expect to see more of that? Have you seen more of that?
We've been talking about this since training camp. I've been telling, we've been talking about the way we're going to be challenged from day one. We recognize our strength as far as pass rush, but pass rush is a privilege right now because until we take care of this run challenge. That's what it's going to be. So, and that'll be no different when we go to Minnesota. So we're going to be challenged. Our run defense is always going to be challenged.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning. We have talked about the run defense. Physicality-wise, are you liking what you're seeing, or is it more technique? All those types of things.
Physicality, I think you got to watch you got to watch when you evaluate, and I think that's a benefit of being on the field. Because there's a difference between frustration and lack of effort. It may look the same and things like that. So, but yeah, I think that there was definitely a frustrating game. You think about all the third. I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but the third and fourth downs, particularly the down the distance. I mean, they were favored the sticks for the majority of the game.
Kelvin, one more. Kelvin Joseph, I don't know what Brown is with his health, but what do you think of Kelvin Joseph in that game?
Well, I look at Kelvin as a young player, and he was one of the guys that things weren't as clean, and particularly on the bunches and so forth, and obviously some of those plays were him.
Babe Laufenberg, Cowboys Radio. Mike, on the second interception, is that a play where CD's the middle of the field open?
Middle read thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah, 2 Bennett, 3 Bennett. Yeah.
I won't ask you to, but how did you see it? When you
No,
looked
yeah.
at it?
I mean, is that what you used to call it in your day? The
Pardon me?
middle read?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, 2 shell
But
post.
I mean, did you see it like Dak saw it, or did you see it like CD saw it when you looked at it?
No, I saw it like Dak saw it.
Okay.
Yeah. Based on the depth of the defender, it's it doesn't matter if it's a nickel, the strong safety, or it could be the defensive lineman lined up back here at 15, 20 yards. When there's someone in the middle of the field, that's a closed safety look. So.
Michael Galpin, Dallas Morning News. On the first interception, why was the spacing so tight between Dalton and CD?
Great question. I think when you look at the play, in fairness to Dalton and CD, that it's a concept that we've been running a little deeper. So and we were kind of right on the fringe of where you want to run that, because schematically we got exactly what we were looking for. We had we were trying to obviously had the inside leverage of the linebacker. You're trying to get the first Dalton, the first guy up on the safety, and then CD comes right off of Dalton. So so with Dalton getting inside of that safety, and then CD's got to be a lot tighter there. But that's a lot tighter window to throw in. So and that's where at the quarterback position, you have to throw that with anticipation. You can't wait for it to clear to throw it, because then now the backside's involved. So that's a trust throw. It's an anticipation throw, like most shot plays are, into the end zone. So coverage scheme and so forth are. If you put it on the chalkboard, it's a win, but it definitely wasn't, as far as the spacing.
And to follow up on Dave's question, on that pick, CD didn't cross face on the safety, but he did in overtime. Is that on his catch? Is that encouraging as you look for?
Well, the one in overtime is exactly is the counter to the one Babe asked about. The one that was against 22 replace coverage, but. So yeah, it's CD's, and that's an exceptional read, because if you look at it, Amos was outside the hash. So CD could have very easily read it as 2 deep, which he'd have been correct anyways, because when there's a time, everything's time clock, everything's tied to the quarterback's feet, and because if he reads it as 2 deep, there's potential for maybe even a touchdown. So, but the fact that he saw Amos rotating, which he was going to the, to a 3 shell deep coverage, it's an excellent read. That's what you're looking for. And actually, Dak and CD throw that. We call it a beeline post. They throw that route very well.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. We know that was an important game for you. How do you pick yourself up? And I know the messaging is important to you, to your players. How do you pick yourself up and make sure?
Winning is such a joy, but and unfortunately, I think sometimes as you get older in this league, it becomes a relief, and I don't like that. But the losing gets harder. There's no question about that. But no, I don't have to pick myself up. I'm tired and sleep much, but I'm frankly I'm already. I thought the press conference was at 3:00. I was actually here at 3:00. There's nobody here, but it's so. But I'm on to Minnesota, so we finished to. We finished with the players at 2:00, and already got good hour and a half in so far on the Vikings.
Dave, Mike, like you were saying, you've been talking from training camp about the run defense and knowing everyone is going to attack you there. with the way you've structured this defense, with the size types and what you want, you knew that was going to be the Achilles heel in some ways. Is it always made up by a collective effort and all fundamentals when you know from a body type you have a bit of a...
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, the body type conversation is really year one to year two. I feel like we've crossed the Rubicon there. So trust me, I have no, I love our players and the body types, and so this is not a talent issue. This is we or bone, structure or body type challenge. It's it really comes down to pad level and staying square and all the fundamentals of of run defense. And it's hard and it's ugly, and but that's the beauty of it. When you play in that environment, it was anticipated, but we didn't get it done. They did.
And when you talk about telling guys that pass rushing is a privilege, I mean, that's just another way of saying that you can't do what makes you who you are unless you stop the run.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to over dramatize it because I mean, obviously, I was at the game too. I think that it's football. I mean, it's run fits or that's part of the challenge. The thing that I'm really focused on is the details of it. Like I think we missed maybe 4 tackles, but we gave up way too much leakage. We didn't have any bend backs. So I mean they were pushing the pile better than we were. So those are the things because that's what takes you from 3rd and 7 to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. So and we've been good at that. So it's not that we haven't done it. It's we just didn't do it to the best of our ability yesterday.
Yesterday was the first time that Jason Peters suited up but didn't play that rotation at left guard. We didn't see. What led to that shift in his usage?
Just really trying to focus more with Jason at the tackle position, and actually I think he's done tremendous here of late. I think you're seeing him, where he's feeling, where like someone that's now gone through camp and so forth. But no, I feel really good about where Jason is.
After watching the film, Tolbert, any reflection on whether or not he was offside or not?
Well, no, I mean, I've seen the video too. My a young player making a mistake, but I mean, I just when you have the mechanics of getting in your stance, to me it's part of your stance. I mean, and I've heard all the questions already. What's the young guy doing in the game? In overtime. I mean, my goodness. I mean, if we don't have if you can't play X receiver to the open side, get lined up, then. Why is he on the 48? I mean, so that's not. And JT. I mean, he's very conscientious, and so. But I think what got him, but I think he said he felt that he got the thumbs up the first time, and then obviously he was obviously in the neutral zone, and then you can see his head turn. So the official must have said something to him. And then he, moved back, but also, I mean, he let's be honest, he not only was offsides, it was illegal motion too. So, but yeah, it's just tough mistake.
With the McGovern penalty, did you think that was the legitimate?
Can't control the officials, man. I'm in charge of the players, the schedules, media, questions. So, I mean, it's.
Is that a product of where the umpire's placed? Sometimes
No,
those calls now?
I don't think so. I mean, that's I think body movement in the action. I think the way Dean Lowry played the play, I think you can see it fine from either side of the ball.
Clarence.
How was that?
So he flopped.
That was good. I like that. That was good.
By the same token, how do you explain what do you think about the Trayvon hold, on the ball that got out quick, on the defensive hold on Trayvon?
When the engagement, yeah, that's a tough call. I mean, look where Trayvon's at. I mean, he's in a reduced split. He's got run responsibility. Receiver comes off, they're engaged. So, I really didn't have a chance to talk to them about that. So I don't know if they saw the whole thing because I mean, those guys, if in that particular instance, I mean, the player, what the hell?
Somebody bent, they're trying to get going on the speaker, they're working on the sound.
Well, we didn't win yesterday, so you know where I was going. I'd have been the first one out the door, so. Jesus. Okay, no, that's hard. That's a hard call, 'cause, I mean, it's, you got the 5-yard zone, and, and you can see he's engaged. Yeah, so I thought that was a tough call on Trayvon.
And speaking of that, I know you turned the page, I was on the Vikings, but how tough was that
Why are
play?
you wearing purple today, by the way?
I always wear purple. How tough was that ride home last night?
Say again?
How tough was that ride home last night?
Oh, tough. Yeah, tough. Yeah, you guys ain't getting me today. I ain't slept. I'm irritated, and yeah, I'm very disappointed. That game was very personal. I'm not going to deny that. So, and but most importantly, I was just really disappointed for our players. I thought our players played well enough to win.
Mike, following back up on the Trayvon question, which kind of led you to talk about the run defense. Damone Clark, coming off of a 40 defensive snap outing against the Bears after the loss of Anthony Barr. Barr sidelined here on Sunday, but Barr only gets 7 defensive snaps. Was that the plan going in because of the rotation you guys were trying to do?
Yeah, no, I mean, great question. I think playtime, if you look at the way the game was going, just, you could even take it even a little further into the D-line. I mean, that's a hard game to substitute when the sticks are in your favor. So, yeah, rotation, and Leighton, played through some stuff yesterday too. So, so that's definitely part of it. I mean, that's a fair question. But yeah, the plan was not for Damone to play 40 plays. But I'll make that clear. So, but I think let's remember he just went through his second week of full practice. So, I actually was very comfortable with the number of snaps he played.
Mike, where is Anthony Brown as far as where he is in the protocol? And you mentioned Leighton. What are some other injuries?
Really, the only one, because I saw Jim briefly, we walking into the personnel meeting. But yeah, I think Anthony's. I mean, he's in the protocol. But I personally, I saw Anthony downstairs. So I mean, he looks good, and I don't have a status for him yet, but I think he definitely has a chance to be ready for Sunday.
Leighton and some of those other guys who clearly got hurt during the game.
I don't have it yet, David. Sorry.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio, the old axiom, the 24-hour rule, does that sometimes get violated and something you have to guard against this week, or just the fact that you're going up to Minnesota against the Titans?
Well, to be honest with you, we really don't have any choice, and I think that's, the good thing about, getting back at a decent time. We were able to get everybody in here. The coaches have watched it with the players. We've watched it obviously as a staff in the morning. So, we've taken 3 laps through it now. So we, as I like to say, it's in the can. The corrections are in the can, and frankly, everybody's working on Minnesota right now.
Sorry, next.
Oh, I thought you were getting ready to bring a zinger. You had me nervous there. Just deep thought.
How did Tony come out of the heaviest workload of his career?
I thought Tony was strong, real strong. And I thought him in the league, just in his limited opportunities, played really well. But no, yeah, Tony was good. No, he didn't have any blink. Thought he was excellent.
Mike, how do you look at Dak's ball placement and where he puts the ball? You look at, does it go deeper than just completion percentage in your mind when you measure quarterbacks?
Well, but I also think you got to recognize that some of those lower throws are about designed too. We coach them as second base throws. I mean, there's four throws that you probably might look at as as minus throws, and it's 2 drills that I've always done, particularly in quarterback school. Call it hots and dots. So you're working your hot throws and your dot throws, and then you got your second base throw and your back shoulder throws, and so those are ball placement throws that you have to have in the National Football League, because coverage is guys don't run open. You got to throw them open. So and throwing them open may be it could be right here, it could be down low and so forth. So I know we had a couple of those. The only reason why I'm pointing it out. I thought he started. He missed. I just thought he was playing a little fast with his feet early, but then I thought once he got into rhythm, I thought the ball came out very consistently.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Good. All right. Thank you.